It's Samir's turn.
Yeah. Well,
And then
it's funny that we're both decided to wear violet.
I know. I love this color.
I know. It's funny though, because I'm like, oh, look, we match.
Twin
It's
twin.
official. It's a show.
Okay. Are you all ready
I'm
to
ready.
fire away?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
I first am curious about who you work with. Like what
Okay.
kind of people do you work with in your coaching business?
So I work with men. I have coached women in the past. I've coached young children, like, in programs like teenagers, I would say. But who I work with is I work with men, anywhere from the ages of mid 20s to mid 60s,
Okay.
all
And
types of demographics in terms of like what they do for a living, where they live.
And so, over the years of you working with men who are middle 20s, 60s, they might be a corporate executive or someone who's just starting out in their career. What are
Hmm.
some common denominators among these men that you experience when you're talking with them?
Well, a lot of times people come in for one thing, whether it's they want more confidence in speaking to women, speaking their mind at work, getting through a difficult moment in their life. But when you really start asking questions and they start discovering through the discovering process, which is always great, a lot of it comes that they have felt like they've been muted in some form, whether it was when they were younger, when they were young, a young man, and they had to suppress emotions because, suppressing emotions equals strength. And the more strength you have, the more you're respected as a man by your community, by the women in your life, by your friends, etc. And so a lot of them come in with shame around feeling like they're not strong enough in one way or another.
Mhm.
And that seems to be a very common emotion for, I mean, shame is really, I've experienced shame before in the past. Everybody has, but with men, it's there. It's something that they're always carrying around, and they have shame about the shame. So it makes it really, really, really tough for them to identify it. They know what it feels like, but like to put words to emotions and to be able to understand that that is what's leading to a lack of self-expression in their life, a lack of feeling. Like a lot of them know and share that they feel like something's missing in their life. Like, I've done it all, I went to the good school, or I got married, or I do all this for my family, my daughter, but yet I feel that something's missing. And usually what's missing is the connection to themselves, who they authentically really are.
Mhm.
And somewhere along the line, they've been told by society, and we as women, we partake in that as well, is that, you have to be stoic, you have to have strength no matter what. Weakness is going to get you hurt in some cases. I've had men tell me that if there's a case of abuse or anything of the sort of bullying, showing weakness literally could mean death for them. So, whereas women, we experience fear, right? We experience always having this sense of fear for our safety. That's something that's always there. And men don't necessarily fear that. I mean, they've probably been in certain situations where they've been afraid, but they don't constantly walk around feeling like, am I going to be okay here as women? But they do walk around with a constant feeling, am I strong enough? Am I man enough? Am I, what am I doing? A lot of them. And this is something that's common no matter how successful they are. This feeling of like, this constant pressure to always be strong, and the shame that comes along when they feel that they're not living up to that.
Yeah. And that's something that you see whether someone is partnered and married or single.
Yes.
As a
Yes.
common thread between them all.
Because men are comparing themselves to other men. I mean, makes perfect sense. But if you think about it, the way I even like explain to them, it's like, but you're comparing something that's not even a reality for that man over there. You know, it's better for you to work on you. And now suddenly you're comparing where you are and where you want to go within yourself versus now comparing yourself to someone that, I trust me, if I were to sit down and have a conversation with them, I could put money on it that they're dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with. And they look at you like in shock. They're like, really? And I'm like, you think that money's going to solve it, or this woman is going to solve it, or this woman getting out of your life is going to solve it, or moving is going to solve it? I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive to do those things if that's what you want, but the internal experience is really what's making you feel this guilt and shame,
Mhm.
and this like almost dead feeling, this like lacking feeling, like alive.
Mhm. It's kind of
Hmm.
sad to hear in some ways.
It
I
is
think
sad to
women,
hear.
we have our own common denominators of what we struggle with, because they had to be like the good girl, the quiet girl, and they
Hmm.
couldn't be fully expressed. So it's interesting to, hear some of the overlap there.
Mm.
And just like it seems like the common theme is like we all want to be alive, fully expressed individuals. I think one thing that women have is we prioritize friendships and relationships and community more so than men. Would you say that a lot of the men that you lack community or really strong male friendships and relationships?
I think deep ones. I think if they work in a certain type of environment, they have the people that they work in the environment with, whether it's in finance or whether it's in any field. But it's more of a superficial friendship. But some men do report that they have a couple of really great friends, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't really have someone. Because remember, if you have to go to your friend and you're being quote unquote weak, what is that friend now going to think of you? And I've said to them, but no, but I'm sure your friend also has a moment that he'd love to come to you. No, 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 no. It's like just the thought of that alone for them so paralyzing that they just stuff it. They just have learned it's so automatic to just stuff emotions because it equals strength. So it's almost like they're suffering in silence because they believe that suffering in silence is actually giving them strength, and strength is really what they want and
Mm-hmm.
what they feel makes them feel better. But ironically, the strength is at the expense of the real freedom. But because we've always told them the strength is the when they're going to be admired and be looked at like, oh, that guy, he's such a strong guy, he can handle anything. And it's like, they'll even say, oh, I never cry. And it's like, but it's okay if you do. I always say, like, if you go to a sporting event, that's the one place that you'll see a range of emotions in men. They'll cry, they'll yell, they'll hug each other, they'll even kiss each other. So it's not that it's not there, it's there. It's just, when are you allowed to show it? When is it appropriate? And
Yeah.
so this whole idea of appropriateness and when to do it and when not to do it is ingrained, and it's something that we as a society need to work on. I do my best and work individually so I can show them that there is, because then the moment that you see when they disarm, when they share something with you they've never shared with anyone, and they tell you that, and then you kind of work them and they work through it really, but then you give them an alternative of how in the future they can actually do it differently. And it's usually just pretty simple. Like a lot of them will tell you like, well, that's like pretty simple and makes total sense, but I never thought of it like that. And it's like, yeah, I know it is pretty simple and it makes total sense, but everybody else has been programming you such a way. And so once they understand that whole thing, that like, listen, as a little boy, I mean, it's down to that, like, little boys need more nurturing from their mother and their parents, because they tend to cry more. Their nervous system isn't fully developed the same way as quickly as a little girl's. So baby boys will cry more than little baby girls, and we tend to think, let him cry it out. We don't want to make him a cry baby. But in reality, the worst thing that you could do for that baby is to let him cry it out, because what he really needs is to feel the proper attachment and to feel like and that's actually going to make it for him to be a more stable, well-grounded young boy.
Mm-hmm.
But same thing, if you fall, a little girl falls, everybody jumps to help the little girl. If a little boy falls, get up, dust yourself off. Boys don't cry. Come on, you're fine. You're okay. You're okay. And so at a very young age, they start to get this programming. And that's why I always just say, like, let's just be compassionate. I tell them to be compassionate with themselves. As women, a lot of women are like, men are this, men are that. And I'm like, just, I understand what you're saying in a way, but just try to be compassionate. It's not easy, but I'm not comparing. Usually when I say it's not easy to be a man, women will say, well, what about us? And it's like, but it's not a zero sum game. We're talking about them right now. And this is what I do. That's what I talk about.
For the man that's looking to find community, build community, to have just maybe one or two really deep relationships where, these emotions can be shared, life experiences can be shared. Do you have any recommendations for like how to go about establishing a vulnerable and safe and like respected environment so there are more spaces for men to be expressed and to share shortcomings and celebrate their successes without feeling, judgment or like the societal pressures of what a man should be?
I definitely think that number one, I always say that there's nothing wrong, and I even encourage them embracing their masculinity, their masculine energy, just like I say to women to embrace their feminine energy, right? And I'm not going to get into specifics because obviously I'm not talking about anything that's, you know, putting down the other side or anything that's, for lack of a better word, the word toxic, which is overused, but we all know what that means, right? I'm talking about real genuine, the need to feel like how do you feel your best is when you feel feminine and you feel that energy of being feminine and you feel it. Same thing as for men. And I think when you can find a space where you can be truly masculine, not the stuff that's a packaged masculinity, we'll call it packaged masculinity versus organic masculinity. I think that if you can find a group of men that, and look online, start curating what you're looking at. There are guys doing it out there. I want to create a community from where eventually people can meet up and talk about stuff like that. Like for people to say that men don't like to talk and like to open and share, I'm here to tell you that's 1000% false, because they open and share with me every day. And a lot of times, even when it's not an actual client and they just find out what I do, they will literally, their body language will change. They will turn a certain way and they will just like open up because it's needed. So it doesn't mean that it needs to take a lot of time. It doesn't mean that it means that they need to know you for a long time. It just means that they need to just know that you genuinely care and you want to be supportive, just like anyone. And so I think if they could just open that space up for each other and take a risk. You might have guys that look at you like, what do you want? Like shut you down. It's okay. That person is on their journey, but eventually you will meet. And I was actually, to point this out quickly, I was in Poland and I met these two guys from two different countries. One was Polish, one was from Paris, but Moroccan originally. And I thought they knew each other. I started chatting with them at the bar. We were joking around and I found out that they had just met. And I said, wow, I'm really proud of you guys that you're two men from two different cultures and you're out and you're chatting and you're like having a great time and exchanging numbers and all of that. And I was really, really proud of them. And I told them a couple of times, like, wow, I'm really proud of you guys. It's great. And the thing is that they didn't even realize from the outside the energy that it created as a woman. I felt comfortable enough to be around them because they created a really nice, safe feeling like container for even me as a woman to walk into. Mm-hmm. And they had just met. And so, I asked them, what made you guys talk to each other? Like, how did this happen? Because I know it's difficult for men to do this. And they said, you got to just take risks sometimes. You got to just go for it. What's the worst they can tell me? The one guy joking around says, yeah, the worst they can tell me is go after yourself. And I'm like, that's true. And so I thought it was really cute and adorable and actually just beautiful to see them do that. So at the end of the day, that's what they have to do. They just have to take more risks.
Be okay with whatever happens, knowing that there are many people out there, right?
Yeah.
What would you say, maybe last question here, like if you could speak boldly about one thing that women get wrong about men, what would you say? And like, I would love to hear you say, women, this is one thing you get wrong about men.
One thing that I definitely think women get completely wrong about men is that they want men to chase them.
And why should women not want that?
No, they shouldn't. No, that women think that men want to chase them. I think men would like women who are more clear and transparent with what they want and not think and put all of this on the guy or on the man that he needs to go after her. And even if they don't mind actually taking initiative, but sometimes women think that playing games is what men want and what they respect. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing. I mean, there are a few other things that I think they get absolutely wrong, but I think on the most basic, because that's the initial interaction, is, 86% of women wait for men to make the first move. 86% of women wait. So if you're waiting around for the man to make the first move, okay, when he finally does, don't play games, or take a little initiative on your end and make a guy feel good, give him a compliment. I feel that men will tell you, they remember when a woman gives them a compliment. They remember when someone says something nice to them. Men want to hear nice things from women. And sometimes I think women can be a little stingy with their compliments. I think also stop getting advice about men from your girlfriends. Ask men. Ask men. And I guarantee they're going to tell you that. They're going to tell you, we don't care so much about your makeup and your fake nails and the eyelash. We don't care about that. We care about the way you make us feel. Right? And everybody's like that, right? We always remember how someone makes us feel, right? Maya Angelou. Not necessarily what they said or what they were wearing or what, nail color she had on or whatever. They remember how you made them feel. So get out there and make them feel good.